Hello guys and welcome to my F1 2020 driving school video. This video will hopefully be the first of a few videos to come, but unfortunately I can't make any promises as I haven't got too much time right now. This video will be fairly short, but it will be incredibly useful for those of you aiming to shave a couple tenths off your lap times or a few seconds depending on, how you feel your pace is on this game. I have the following clips ready to explain. These are the first sectors of Bahrain and Australia, as I feel these cover most of the tricky corners you are likely to find on F1 2020, and I'll be explaining them in a lot of detail, such as trail braking, turning into the corner, and how to maximise your exits from the corners. So without further ado, let's get into this. So first of all, what I'm going to do is just let the driving do most of the talk over it, but I'll be analysing it in a lot more detail, freezing on certain points. But first of all, I just want to show you the sector. So as you can see here, coming into turn number 1, we spot our braking point. We do one last shift down to 4th gear when we're turning in to get extra rotation on the car. And I'll go into more detail later. You can see here we're trail braking as we turn in, lifting off the brakes as you turn in more into the corner, as you put more angle on the steering wheel, then you need to lift off the brakes. And as you can see here, just running it out wide, and there you go, that's the first sector of Australia. So now we're going to look at this in a lot more detail. So as you can see here, coming onto the straight, now what you're going to want to be doing is looking to the left just to see your braking point there. Familiarise yourself with whereabouts it is. It's the 100 meter board is the braking point we're looking for, but at this point you should have your eyes fixated on that apex. Now one thing I want to mention about the braking points, you can't just expect to watch this video and then be as good as I am. I'm sure you're not thinking that anyway, but the main point for me personally to get the best laps possible is to know your braking points. If you don't know your braking points, you're either going to overshoot and just mess up the corner because you braked too late, or you're just going to scrub off too much speed and you're going to lose time. So really make sure you do quite a couple laps around here. Just familiarize yourself with the braking point, and eventually you should be able to focus more on your apex, which is what we'll be moving on to now. So we throw the car into turn 1, one last shift down to 4th gear for extra rotation. Now I want to focus on the braking. So as you can see here, as I turn in, I lift off the brakes gradually. Now I'm going to show this in slow motion. So we are hard on the brakes into turn number 1. Now the more steering input we have, and the less braking. So more simply, as the steering increases, braking decreases. Now on the exit of the corner, the less steering we have, the more throttle we have, and that pattern is basically the foundation of the braking for each corner. Now the gear shifting, let's talk about that. So most of the downshifting for a corner is done while we're at full deployment of the brakes. So I downshift rapidly to 5th, but as I lift off the brakes, I do one last shift to 4th gear. This is to get extra rotation on the car and help direct it towards the apex. So as you can see here, braking heavily, then one last downshift to 4th as I start to lift off the brakes and steer in for that corner. This will make a lot more sense coming into the next turn. So as you can see, we're spotting our braking point here. It's this black box right here. Now coming into the corner, most of the downshifting is done while we are 100% on the brakes. Now as we start to lift off the brakes, as we begin to steer for the corner, the downshifting also decreases. Actually doing one last shift down to 1st here, and that was just to get some extra rotation on the car, which I wouldn't normally do, but in that instance I felt it was necessary. And that's one thing I also want to mention, is that as you get more practice and you play this game more, you will get more of an overall feeling for the car with the downshifting and the braking and the throttle on exit. You can see here, right there, I felt I needed one last downshift, and you will get that feeling as you start to play this game more. So like I said, you need to practice. So one last time, braking for the corner. Most of the downshifts at this point are done. We're now in 4th gear. Now these last few downshifts offer more rotation on the car going into the corner, and they're a lot more spaced out from each other relative to the initial downshift. So as you can see, one last one into 1st, and that's all there really is to it. So on the exit now, I shift into 2nd gear, as you will see, right from 1st, now into 2nd as soon as I start to deploy the throttle. This is to reduce the RPM, so it will prevent wheel spin and overall just give me more traction, and that's pretty much all there is to that. So now for Bahrain, coming into the final corner here, taking a late apex there. So I'll do what I did with Australia here. I'll just play out the first sector for you and just let you kind of see how I'm driving. And so yeah, I'll talk you through it. So, one last shift down to first gear. I couldn't stop the lockups there. Now, as you can see here, just being gentle with the throttle there, having a feel for the car, and as I feel I'm getting more comfortable with the back end, I just deploy a bit more throttle. There, I did one more downshift to third gear, running it out wide, and there you go. So coming into turn number 1 here, I already know my braking point. It's when that white and red curb starts there, and so coming into turn number 1 now, I'm hard on the brakes. Once again, downshifting. Now as I start to turn in, these last few ones for rotation, just lifting off the brakes. I couldn't stop the locking up like I just mentioned, and just skimming, well, I was actually a little bit off the apex there, but it's still fine. Now coming through here, you can now see I was full throttle, but as I started to lose the back end and as I was actually inputting more steering, you can see I'm lifting off the throttle. It's really about getting a feeling for the car, guys, which will come with practice. Which obviously only you guys can do. So you can see here, just first gear for a little more rotation, braking right up till the apex, again shifting up to second, short shifting to second like I mentioned in Australia, and now as you can see, just getting a feeling for that back end, lifting off the throttle a bit, otherwise I would have lost the back end of the car. I had to do that, and then just running out as wide as possible. And that's also what I want to mention now as we continue on the lap here into this next corner. You've got to use all the space available to you. So this part of the track here I'm using, and I'm braking just before that 100 meter board there. And yeah, it's just really important. You've got to utilise all the track that you are given. As you can see, once again, braking, fourth gear, lifting off the brakes now as I'm steering into the corner. One last shift for more rotation, and then short shifting up to fourth as soon as I get on that throttle, and just riding it out, just going as wide as I can there, making use of all the track. It's there, you got to use it. And yeah, I mean, you saw the Mercedes in Austria, and they weren't using all the track, how much slower they were. But now coming into this corner here, now it's very different to pretty much any corner. It's a double left-hander. I'm going to try and explain it as best as I can, but you've really just got to practice, guys, because corners like these are just unbelievably, like, I get them wrong so many times. It's unbelievable how hard they are to do. So you can see here, I'm braking, and the shifting, you have to time the shifts, right? You need to get a feeling for the shifting and just time them for corners like these. These corners, they really are a bitch. They are your worst enemy. So you can see here, shifting down, timing the shifts. I even actually deploy a bit more brake there. Once again, it's just for having a feeling of the car, and always looking at that apex, guys. Okay, you always got to look at that apex. That will really help you, and really just fixate your concentration right on that apex there. But yeah, corners like that, they are horrible. But I'm just going to go through it one last time here. Just a bit of extra footage I had, so you can see, just easy on the brakes. And now you can see here, always having your eyes focused on that apex, easing off the brakes, one last downshift, and then a short shift up to second. So we just blasted out the corner there a bit too much. One thing I want to do just before I go is just give you guys a bit of a tip for how to take these apexes, particularly for either slow corners like these, or corners with an apex which has a really high elevation relative to the track. Because corners like these here, at low speeds like this, pretty much mounting that curb is only gonna slow you down. So it's kind of best to just skim it. Just skim the outlines of it there. You can maybe touch it a little bit, but I wouldn't recommend going completely on the curb, because you'll just scrub off too much speed. It's all about carrying as much speed as you possibly can through. As you can see with this one, the elevation of it is too high. If I was to mount it, it would upset the rear of my car. As you can see, you don't want to be doing that. You're going to want to be just skimming them here. Obviously for different corners, it's a different story, but I'm just saying for the ones in this video, you can see there, just skimming them. I don't want to hit them, and as you can see there, my paddle shifts on my wheel beginning to show some age there. So that's pretty much it for this video. I'd appreciate a like if you found it useful, and dropping a sub. If you also want to watch my career mode series where you'll see all these tips in action, if you will, That'll be coming out shortly, so make sure you stay tuned for that. And yeah, thank you very much for watching.